For suppose I'm just saying a brute force approach. Int a temporary array is equals to mu int of that value and followed by what I'm going to implement here. I have to reverse the original array. So what I'm going to do here, for loop, int I is equals to int I is equals to 0, I less than n, I less than n, I plus plus. Okay, so what I'm going to mention here, for suppose I'm taking a j variable, int j is equals to n minus 1 for accessing the reverse element of that array. Okay, so I'm just copying the value temp of I is equals to arr of j, of j, and I'm going to mention, okay, I can implement the statement in the if loop also, don't worry, I'm just writing for understanding purpose, written in the outside of the statement. Okay, okay, I'm going to write j minus minus. Okay, so what will happen, the reverse, the array existing will be copied like to in the temporary as the same. So now what I'm implementing here, I'm iterating one more loop. For loop int I is equals to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, arr of I is equals to temp of I. Okay, so now I'm going to return the existing array, return arr, or you can use the temporary array also, but we are just saying that in place no reverse, so that reason I'm just implementing. So this is kind of a brute force approach, I think you understand. So now I'm going to discuss an optimal approach, nothing but two pointer approach, both the iterative case and the normal case. So two pointer approach. So what is two pointer approach? So okay, I'm going to say with examples you'll get and understand. For suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just saying 6. So the reverse of this, the result will be what? The result will be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what I'm doing here, I'm just swapping these elements. Okay, swapping the last element to the first element to the last element. Similarly, what I'm going to do here, the last before element and the second element, and this elements. So can we make a pointers like this? For suppose pointer 1 and pointer 2, by this pointer I'm going to swap the values. By this pointer I'm going to swap both the values. I hope you understand. So now iterations, how many iterations is going to take place? For suppose initially it going to the n times, n times it was, I mean, it was going for n times. Now what it happening here, now it was decreased by n by 2 times. See, for suppose for this statement to reverse an existing array, so what we are going to do, we are going to iterate in a loop for 6 times. Okay, by using pointer approach, 6 by 2 nothing but how many times, 3 times. So somewhat the time complexity was decreased, and we are going to implement an in place swapping of numbers. Okay, in place swapping of numbers. I hope you understand. I think so. I'm going to write this condition, I mean this everything. So what will happen, for this 6 and 1, for this loop what will happen, 5 and 2. For this loop what will happen, okay, wait. So for this statement, okay, I'm going to write it will be 6 and 1, and this will be 5 and 2. For this iteration, what will happen? 4 and 3 will be swapped. So by n by 2 times, the array was reversed. For by n by 2 times, the array was reversed. Okay. So I think I hope you understand. So I'm going to implement this. So I'm going to implement this logic in iterative and a loop. Okay. On a loop. Okay. So I'm going to take a P1 is equals to 0, P2 is equals to n minus 1. I'm going to write the condition that for loop condition P1 greater than or equal to P2. P1 greater than or equal to P2. So can we write temp is equals to ARR of P1, ARR of P1. So the temp containing ARR of P1. So I'm just making that ARR of P1 with ARR of P2. Okay, so the last element will be copied to the first element. Okay, the last element will be copied to the first element, and ARR of P2. P2 is equals to a temp. So after this everything have done, we have to, so I mean increase the pointers everything. So I'm just making a pointer p1 is equals to increasing, I mean making forward, and similarly I'm just decrementing the pointer 2 for p2 minus equal to. I hope you understand. So this is the basic heart of this program. So this was everything was iterative approach. Up to now I discuss about iterative approach. Iterative approach. The same functions, the same thing, everything will be implemented in recursive also. The whatever you are writing in an iterative approach, mostly we can write in the recursive approach also. Okay. So how I'm going to write the recursive approach, everything, uh, you will see. I'm writing int reverse array. So for the firstly we have to define our base condition. Okay. Int a comma int p1 comma int p2. Okay. if if p1, I'm just writing the terminating condition, if p1 greater than p2, if p1 greater than p2, I'm going to return the array. I'm going to return the array. If it is not satisfying the base condition, what I have to do, I have to make int temp is equals to the same thing I'm going to implement here. A of P1 and A of P1 is equals to A of P2. P2 nothing but the last point, okay, the last index. And now I'm going to copy the first element to P2. A of P2 will have a temp. So okay, everything was happen. So it has to done for the next iterations also, no? So what I have to do again, I have to make a function called that uh, reverse. So reverse array, I'm just writing. So try to understand my handwriting. I think okay. So I'm going to mention the statement A, and what I'm doing here P1 plus 1, and I'm making P2 minus 1. So the everything, so every see here I'm calling the statement the function itself. Okay, so can we say calling a function itself is called, okay, wait. So calling a function itself is called recursion. Yeah, we can. So, so moreover, I think we'll try to implement this code. I hope you understand. See why I didn't explain everything in the stack. Why? Because the same logic I just implement here. But what I have done, I'm just making a function call for the next iteration. Here the while loop is going to look after the everything iteration everything. Here I'm just making the function call. Okay. I hope you understand. So don't worry. I'm going to code both the approaches. So here n is defined nothing but as a length of the array. So if I have to read the elements from array, so I'm not going to discuss about brute force approach. I'm going to discuss about the recursive approach. So okay, so I'm going to discuss about the first approach. Okay, so I'm going to make a function called that two pointer approach, iterative approach. I'm going to I'm going to pass the array and the length only. I'm going to pass the array and length. Iterative approach int n. Okay. Int p1 is equals to 0. Int p1 is equals to int p1 is equals to 0. P2 is equals to n minus 1. Okay. So I'm writing the terminating condition. If P1 is equals to greater than or equal to P2. This is the main thing. P1 is equals to P2. Okay. So I'm mentioning a temporary variable int temp. Okay. Here you can use bitwise operators and addition and subtraction operators. Most of you seen in the reels, but as of now I'm going with the brute force way. I mean, a simple way, very understandable. Temp a of a is equals to a of p1, and I'm just making a of p1 is equals to a of p2, and a of p2 with a of p1. Okay, you swap at the integers. Now after swapping, what you have to do, what you have to implement here, p1 plus is equals to 1, p2 minus equal to 1. So you have to implement this thing. Okay, then only it will, I mean, you can see. So after everything you have to check whether the values are everything. So I'm going to using here for each loop int val is equals to, okay, Okay, I hope you understand. Okay, everything was done. So now I'm going to write the code for a recursive approach. A recursive approach. Okay, a recursive. Let's see. Here also I'm going to pass the pointers within the function itself. Okay, a. So the starting pointer will be 0, the ending pointer will be n minus 1. Okay, so after everything I'm going to print the values. See why? Because in recursion, why I'm not printing? Why? Because I'm calling function itself, no? So that reason I was unable to print. So that reason I'm printing within the main method. Okay. So I'm going to write function here. Recursive approach int a in p1 in p2 int a and int p1. uh, okay, I have to write the base condition, no? If p1 greater than p2, if p1 greater than p2, what I have to do, I have to return the array itself. Okay, so now the main implementation is coming here. Int the same what I have written here, I'm going to paste here. But okay, after everything, I have to call the recursive approach again. Recursive approach, yeah, p1 plus 1, p2 minus 1. So I'm going to give the input here 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to check the statement what we are getting everything. Where in 31 I'm missing it seems. Like started. Okay, so we did here one mistake. I have to mention here temp. Similarly, here also I have to make sure that it was temp. Actually, this is the main blunder mistake what we have done. So generally, see one thing you have to understand. Here just I'm calling a recursive approach. Why I'm making a return function array? Why? Because it was happening in place, no. So that reason we don't need any return type. Okay, so I'm just converting it to a void type. Okay, I'm just making a thing. Okay, if p1 equal to p2, for odd case also you have to consider. For suppose if the array length is 5, 1 2 3 4 5, for suppose there will be a middle element 3. So for 3 itself, p1 and p2 will be same. So that reason at that condition you have to return nothing. So I mean this is the terminating condition. This is the terminating condition. Now I'm going to check is there any errors. We will make sure we'll come across this. Okay, I have to keep a semicolon. See, we got the output. Why? Because initially we given an array 1 2 3 4 5 6. What will be the reverse of the array? 6 5 4 3 2 1. And the coming at that ending, what is the reverse of this array? The reverse of this array will be 1 2 3 4 5 6. I think I hope you understand what I have done here. Okay, so these are the solutions for this question. I think, I hope you understand what I have done everything clearly, how I written a pointer approach and everything. Okay, thank you.